a cigarette after UFC 300, dog. It gave it to me hard. It
Oh
gave me all
my
I needed, all I
god.
wanted.
Oh my
All
god.
I wanted.
I didn't know the cigarette comment was coming. I love it. You know who else could use a cigarette? Probably Max Holloway. Probably, I mean, Jamahal Hill for different reasons. But I'm just thinking of main card people that could really use a smoke after their outing.
Yeah, no, main card delivered. Even the women's the strawweight title was like way more
How
competitive than like literally anybody thought it was going to be.
how good of a fight was that? And how powerful is Yan Xiaonan on the feet? And how good is Weili's chin? Or not good? I mean, we'll get into it, but
No, for sure. And then I got to say, I think all the people that said Bo Nickel didn't deserve to be on the main card were proven right. I think that fight sucked. But
yeah, I mean, it sucked, but you know what it reminded me of so much, man. I got this vibe probably 4 minutes into round one, and we'll get, obviously I don't want to break down too much, but it gave me like young Habib vibes, where like he's just so much better at one thing that it's like, man, even though he's not really doing much anything else, he's just so good at this one thing. It's like it's gonna be impossible for him to lose to a guy at this level.
yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, man. UFC 300 recap. We're going to start with the main card. Beefy Boys Breakdown, episode 165. Delivered. It's so hard for something with hype to deliver. Whether it's like a hype quarterback prospect, a hyped NBA prospect, like a card of this magnitude, like hype usually leads to disappointment. But
100%.
Not this weekend, bro.
You know what I will say is like an odd. This is going to sound crazy, but hear me out. The card was the most stacked card I've ever seen. It wasn't like the main event was the one I'm the most hyped I've ever been for a main event. And it's not the first time I've ever seen 3 titles on a card. We've done UFC 245 where there were 3 legit belts. I mean, this wasn't like shattering any ceilings or, you know what I'm like. I guess what I'm trying to say is like my expectations were actually higher for what the card would be. So they're like before it was made, if that makes sense. And so then the names we got, it's not like I was disappointed, but it's like, I really thought there'd be like a John Jones or like, you know, some like ultimate tier fighter. Adesanya even, you could argue. I mean, he's not a champion, but I would love to see him fight. Anyway, point being is that having like the slightly lower expectation than best event of all time definitely helped make it the best event of all time.
I'll say, bro, as somebody who always watches all the prelims and everything, when I was watching Davison Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt on the curtain jerker, and I didn't even when I was watching Turner Moicano, and I was like, "Oh, this is the early prelims." I was like, "Oh, this is so awesome!" Like as a guy, I was like, it was like 4:30 in the afternoon, and I'm watching Moicano, Jalen Turner. I was like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Bro, Kayla Harrison debuted on a prelim, and she's the most sought after woman the UFC has looked for since Ronda, and she debuted on the prelims.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like those were the moments. It was more the prelims. You're right. I think we've seen main cards about on this level or like relatively close. We've never seen a prelims or early prelims on that level ever.
No.
That's what made it feel special.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yuri and Rocket, you're talking, is typically featured bout on a pay-per-view or headlines a fight night in a major arena.
Yes, agreed. But man, let's dive into all 3 minutes and 14 seconds of this main event, shall we? I mean, bro, this was very validating. We were hammering Pereira. I had Pereira on 2 different parlays. You had Pereira on like a double unit parlay. I mean, we were all in on Pereira. He was basically our lock of the week. Like, it was never done. I can't believe we got minus 130, dog. I cannot believe it.
I know it, and he finished at, what, minus 150 when it was all said and done?
Actually, so to be specific, he finished at minus 140. We got him at minus 135. Still, bargain of the decade. You don't find those bargains even at the fucking thrift store.
No, and I do want to let people know before they even get too deep into this video, your boy turned 55 into 154 this weekend. It was a nice little weekend. That being said, hit the 5-leg parlay, hit some straights, missed some straights, but the straights I missed, I don't feel bad about because there were at least actions or activities that would have been very close to those happening.
Yeah. I don't feel like we were really off the mark that much at all. Like, even Bo Nickel by KO, like, if he just chooses the ground and pound instead of going for the subs, like, that cashes. Like, that could have cashed easily.
I will say...
I tripled my money. Great weekend at the books, though.
Yeah, one of the best weekends I've had in a while, actually. If you think about just my level of bullishness on the 5 leg, awesome. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is Pereira was the 5th leg here at the -135, like you're talking about. So a nice 5th leg, especially with how much I liked him coming into this. But in addition to that, we also hit the dog of the week and our number one prop of the week. We also hit. So
Yeah.
hit the parlay, hit the prop, hit the dog.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling, man. And I mean, this fight, I thought it was going to look. I thought Jamahal Hill was going to stand and bang with him, and I thought that was going to be a mistake. I mean, boom, breakdown done, right?
I mean, yeah, to your point, man, it's like I asked you on our betting show when we were breaking down why we loved Pereira so much. I asked you, who do you think wins a kickboxing match between Alex Pereira and Jamahal Hill? And you gave the sarcastic answer of Pereira, duh, like what the fuck, like it's not even a question. Well, it's like to Jamahal Hill's like hubris, like he's had it self-admitted, like I'm not going to take him down, I'm going to outstrike him, and it's like, no, you're not. And as we saw, you know what I thought was crazy? Was 2 minutes in, I turned to Ali when I'm watching it. It's when Pereira started dropping the left hooks to the body and then swatting the hand, and I was like, he's going to do the same thing he did to Strickland. He's going to catch him with the left that comes up, and it's going to start low and come up. And dude, he gets kicked in the nuts, tells Herb Dean, hold on, I have this, I literally have it loaded, I'm calibrated, to steal his words, calibrated, backs the ref off, takes 2 steps forward, left hand straight to the jaw, and just sits Hill down. I was like, oh, I creamed my pants. It was beautiful.
Well, and like he basically did to Jamahal Hill what Jamahal Hill did to Johnny Walker. It was like the straight back, like cartoonish flop. So epic.
Bro, I'm telling you, if you go back and watch the Strickland KO, it's essentially the exact same thing. The left hand comes to the body, and then he starts pawing your lead hand, and then you reach whenever you think he's coming left hand to the body again. Your hand reaches and comes down. He comes right over the top of it, and like his shoulder is weird because it looks like his shoulder's high, but it comes high at the end, and his fist, like, it was a weird looking shot. Like he throws that left weird, but it's so effective. It's devastating.
Yeah, no, I mean he finishes on with some heavy ground and pound. We basically got 2 memes out of this fight, maybe the greatest meme fight of all time. We got the "Let me cook" Herb Dean stiff arm. And then we got the fucking that was so epic,
bro. And
Pereira first round KO.
You could tell he felt disrespected when he started doing that celebration over the top of him. You could just tell, like he was being cool about it the whole week, but he was like, "You see what the fuck is going to happen when people try to stand with me and they talk about standing with me."
Yeah, and see, like this is my problem with Jamahal Hill. It's like, if the way he talks about himself is that he's this like high level mixed martial artist, which obviously former champ, but he's a brawler, he's a plus athlete, he's a dog, but I don't think he's like this high level tactician. And like instead, I wish he spoke about himself kind of like how Nate Diaz like speaks about himself. Like Nate Diaz is just like, I'm gonna go out here and fight you, dog. Like
Right, Jamahal Hill's great in a fight, but in a technical battle, he is not the best guy.
Exactly. Like Jamahal Hill tries to like talk about himself in a way almost like a Henry Cejudo or like one of these like high-minded guys tries to talk about themselves. And it's like, I wish Jamahal Hill would just talk almost like a Bobby Green or like a fucking Nate Diaz, just like, hey, like I'm about to go out here and talk, because that's his skill set. His skill set is to like whoop your ass, not to like tactician of a shot. You know what I mean? He's not Adesanya. He's closer to a Nate Diaz or a Bobby Green than he is an Adesanya. You know what I mean?
You know what? In my opinion, and I fully agree with you. I just think that Jamahal Hill like talked himself into a corner here where like, this loss is so much more devastating because of all the things he said. If he could have just been respectful and said that, like, and complimented himself the whole time and not said that, like, you all think that he's such a good striker because of all of his kickboxing world titles. Yeah, we do think that because that is what that means. But also, it's just like him always taking shots and saying, like, I'm a better striker. It's like, man, maybe you should tell me you're a better fighter. Because I'm not going to get sold on you being a better striker. Even if you go out there and knock him out, I'm not going to say that. Like, unless you outclass him for 25 minutes. And I'm still not going to sit here and say that Strickland's a better striker than Izzy. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's a great example. Like, I don't think you ever heard Strickland say I'm a better kickboxer than Izzy, even though he out kickboxed Izzy. Like, it's just the way you go about wording things. I couldn't agree more. And you know who I think would be best friends is fucking Cam Newton and Jamahal Hill.
Oh,
they
have
very similar takes.
Cam
Newton's just like, I'm better than Kirk Cousins.
Oh,
bro, they'd be best friends.
Oh my God, Cam Newton with the hot trash takes talking about, they didn't sign me because, black outspoken quarterback. It's like, no, you just had lost the ability to throw the deep ball effectively, and in the NFL, you can't be shit if you don't have that. Like, I don't know what to tell you, Cam. It's pretty straightforward.
For sure, bro. But I mean, epic moment. Definitely cashing 2 different parlays, or in your case, 1 5-leg, 2-unit parlay. God, just such a good feeling. Seeing one of our favorite fighters win in emphatic fashion. Just a capstone on this epic, milestone card. There's not a better way to end the night than just a perfect starching of our man, Chama Poetan Pereira.
Yeah, Chama, 100%. He did not get a fight bonus, did he?
No, but Dana White straight up said he gave a lot of backdoor bonuses. I think because he gave out the 300K bonuses, but Bobby Green on his story, I think, was saying that he got the normal 50K. So I think the people that he handed out a couple of just normal 50Ks under the table. I'm pretty sure Pereira got one. I know Bobby Green got one because he was flexing on the gram.
Okay, yeah, Bobby Green put on a show too, so he earned it. You know what I mean? Let's keep it pushing.
Oh yeah, that fight was fantastic.
Let's keep pushing this co-main because honestly, this is a fight where maybe different ref. We don't get a 5-rounder. We're talking about Chin in 2 different kinds of ways. This fight is very interesting. Very interesting. No, I don't have the odds in front of me. If you want to go ahead and introduce it, we can get into it.
Yeah. So we got the champ, Zhang Weili, coming in. She finished at minus 520. We got her at minus 480. So that was, decent value on our ends. That makes a big difference on a parlay. If it was minus 520, I probably wouldn't have thrown it on the parlay. So the fact that we got it at minus 480 was kind of cool. Taking on number 1 ranked Yan Xiaonan, plus 380. And I gotta say, to Yan Xiaonan's credit, the competitive.
Yeah, absolutely, man. In my opinion, I only scored 1 round for her in the whole fight. However, she stayed dangerous throughout the entirety of the fight. Now, there is going to be the argument here of she looked really good to start the first round, was kind of piecing Weili up. Weili gets the takedown, looks ultra strong and powerful. And then, works to the back, gets the choke, chokes her unconscious. But the bell sounds.
Yeah.
And Yan Xiaonan gets enough blood back in her head to wake up and stand up. And by the rules, she made it back to her corner. I have no problem. It should not be a stoppage. She was up at the end of the round. That's my only,
because if they would have called it a stoppage, then it could have ended up being a no contest. What was that one Edgar Chairez fight?
Yeah.
Where, they called it too early and it ends up being a no contest, and kind of both fighters get, not both fighters, but one fighter gets kind of screwed. It's not a win, it's a no contest just because the ref stopped it too early. So, yeah, I'm cool with the no stoppage too.
Yeah, super close. Now, that for me, of course, was all right, well, Weili.
Now, the question is, do you score that?
Might have lost you there for a second. Oh, yeah, do I score it for Weili? Is that what you're asking me?
Did you score at 10-8 because she, it was almost stopped?
See, I didn't. I only went 10-9.
Me too.
Just, I don't know, because like I said, had she, laid on the ground near the end of the round and really struggled to get up and not known where her corner was and had seemingly been way more out, I don't know. It seemed like she went out as the horn was sounding. It's almost like
she had a lot of success on the feet.
You know what I mean? It's
A lot of success on the
yeah.
feet
Oh
as
yeah.
well,
I thought damage wise was probably even. She just lost a lot of position and literally got choked semi-unconscious. So like, I had to score it for Weili, but yeah, I didn't feel like the damage was overarchingly in her favor.
Now, did you go 10-8 in round 2? I did.
Yeah, 100%. She beat the shit out of Yan Xiaonan. I don't know how Yan Xiaonan survived. If you were an underbetter in this fight, you're so fucking pissed.
Yeah, that's a bad beat. That's a bad beat.
Oh my god, dude. Like at one point she was eating shots and it was like she wasn't even moving. She was just eating shots on the side of her face. And the ref was like, fight back. And she built a base with her hips and was still eating shots to the face, but was trying to stand up. And I was like, oh my god, this woman is Yan Xiao Zombie. This is crazy.
I have in my notes could have been stopped. Like if he would have stopped it there, I would have been cool with it.
I literally thought he was going to. Like I was like, the balls on this ref to assume that defending yourself is just building a base while you still getting punched in the head is crazy.
And then don't forget, after all that, there was like the pretty deep arm triangle attempt that almost put her out again.
And then she somehow squirmed her way out. Like I thought she was out under that one too. It was, I mean, her ability to survive was unbelievable. And then to that point, I scored round 3 for her.
Yes, 2 knockdowns.
It was hurting Weili. Was outstriking her most of this fight. Was just making mistakes in the grappling and letting her get too close.
And like one of the knockdowns was that side kick to the body, but I fucking count it. Like it wasn't a push kick. It wasn't a slip. It was like a violent, like crumpled her to the ground.
I was gonna say like Weili's like body language from that was like down because of like, oh, that fucking hurt me and caught me in the right spot, not like oh, that just caught me out when I was standing on one foot.
Agreed. I saw it the exact same way, bro, for sure. And then the punch to the head, and then she got 2 takedowns as well. Like honestly, I flirted with giving that round 10-8 to Yan Xiaonan.
You know what's weird is maybe I would have, but she got beat so mercilessly in the round before that it's almost like I had a different 10-8 precedent set in my head. And also like the Jim Miller 10-8 that I gave, which we'll talk about that much later, obviously. But that 10-8 was also brutal as shit. So like all the 10-8s I gave were like just brutal 10-8s I felt like last night.
And I did not, but I'm just saying, like it was bad. Like you had to consider it. Like it made you ask the question.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt
for sure.
So actually, we all have this fight scored the exact same. Me, you, and the judges.
And I think that trend is going to continue because in round 4, another 10-9 for Weili. She got a takedown. She got control time. Heavy ground and pound.
Good ground and pound. I was going to say the ground and pound was heavy because Jan's face was swollen going into round 5.
But even at the start of that round, Yan Xiaonan got another knockdown at the start of that round. Like she was having success. Like that's why like the but the fight overall was like fairly competitive because like this round she loses, she gets a knockdown at the start of the round. Like she was having success.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is that Weili landed 256 total strikes, and Yan landed 73 total strikes. But honestly, the effectiveness of Yan Xiaonan's 73 lands were impressive.
Well, and how much I bet the standing numbers were much closer. Most of Weili's strikes came on the ground, I imagine.
So standing numbers were 106 to 43.
Okay. But most of Weili's like work was done on the ground, even that like still.
Yeah, I would say Weili's most damaging shots were her groundwork, whereas Jan's were the 43 standing shots. And honestly, what's crazy about the 43 significant standing shots is 18 are leg kicks. So 25 were headshots. So with 25 headshots, dropped her 3 or 4 times. And she was tagging her up.
No. I mean, she's world class. She proved that she's world class. Like she lost the fight, but she proved that she's top 3 girl in the world.
So I guess we don't have to get too much. I mean, round 5 is just a pretty dominant Weili fighting smart, getting another takedown.
2 head kicks, landed 2 head kicks.
True. Yeah, she actually looked like she had much better cardio. And to Xiaonan's credit, she got beat up for 20 minutes mostly. I mean, 15 minutes, had a good 5 in round 3, but I can see why you'd be tired. All that being said, man, like Weili's a beast. She's the champ for a reason, but I didn't drop Yan Xiaonan in my power rankings at all. I thought she put on a better showing than I expected, in all honesty. And for a plus 380 dog, like hella tough, and came back and won a round after the worst beatings in rounds 1 and 2, and it was putting like danger on Weili's face. Like you could tell Weili was like, this girl could maybe do some shit.
No, for sure. And I mean, it is kind of sick because now you know what we get. We finally get the Tati Weili fight, which
Yes,
I think
sir.
every fan like that's going to be one of the bigger women's fights in a long time. Like that's going to be a big fight.
I mean, it has to be, right? It has to be the next fight they book. It's obvious, but also like it's the first time in a long time that you could argue Weili is going to be like close to even money or not a huge favorite.
Exactly. No, for sure. No, what you do next with Yan Xiaonan is interesting because she's cleared out a lot of the rest of the division, and the only girl that beat her, I think, was Carla Esparza, who's no longer signed.
I think that you can make the argument that there's a fight that takes place earlier in the card that was kind of like the determining like who's going to fight this girl again. Now that could be crazy because I think Rodriguez and Andrade have both fought Xiaonan, right? And they both lost to her.
She's fought like almost all of the top 10. Like she has a resume.
I know it's just weird because like in rankings, oh, Marina Rodriguez has a split decision win over her, so yeah, but that bodes well or that bodes badly with how the Rodriguez Andrade fight played out. Yeah, it's a very weird place that you find what am I saying? Yan Xiaonan in at this point because she has fought almost all the girls behind her.
She has. And like I said, one of the only girls that beat her is no longer in the promotion. But I'm going to grab a beer real quick for this BMF breakdown.
Yeah, deservedly so. You could do Amanda Limosh as well. I'm looking at it here. Xiaonan and Limosh haven't fought before. So that would probably be the move there.
Do that.
Yeah.
Weili's last two victims.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. But yeah, man, let's keep it pushing. Lightweight BMF title. Justin Gaethje's lightweight BMF title. Defending it against Max Holloway, who's coming up 10 pounds, but has fought at 55 before against Poirier. You and I gave out the pick of Gaethje by decision. In hindsight, still don't hate the pick, but I do think I probably should have put more credential on how good of a boxer Max is, and the fact that Gaethje refuses to shoot takedowns.
Yes, I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my neck real quick because it was definitely like our least accurate pick we gave out, but also like I won't quite say caveat. That spinning back kick to Gaethje's nose changed the whole fight.
Changed the whole fight, and it's lucky that it hit his nose because it was meant for his body.
That's what I'm saying. Like not fluky, but just like weird things happen in fights. Like I think without that. Our Gaethje by decision pick, maybe it doesn't cash, but it's a hell of a lot closer. It doesn't look so lopsided if that never happens. I mean, that's pie in the sky. That's kind of speculation, but I feel good about saying that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And then you got to think about the fact, too, that we told you that the fight goes to decision was a great pick, and we're 1 second short of a decision. And the only reason it doesn't go to decision is because both these guys are just absolute animals, savages. And so,
Well, that being said, I gave Gaethje the fourth round, so like
I did as well.
I think he still loses the division, but loses the decision. But like he was looking good late.
So all the judges gave Gaethje the fourth, and actually one of the judges gave Gaethje the second, which I think that's don't a little understand. Wild. I gave all three of the first rounds to Holloway. I thought it was pretty clear 30-27 through 3.
All Gaethje did in round 2 successfully was calf kicks. And I mean, they were obviously Gaethje has legendary calf kicks, but I think he still got outworked, tagged up. Like the calf kicks were good, but I don't think you win the round off that.
Max's activity was a problem for Gaethje, and also Max was doing a great job of like he would feint, he'd be able to slide backwards. He'd throw like a 1-2-3, and then he'd slide off to a side, and then he would start sliding backwards again, and then he would throw that spinning back kick, and then he would mix up what he would do as he would keep sliding back. He was doing a great job of pulling Gaethje into leading him into like combos and counters.
Agreed, and he had Gaethje swinging at air all night. He was just whiffing, just straight whiffing all night. But yeah, man, I mean, and like I said, the value we got on our prop, we got Gaethje by decision at plus 270. And like Gaethje was minus 155 to win, and like you said, fight was 1 second away from going to a decision. So I'm not even too mad at that ticket didn't cash.
And
we get a fight of the night here.
And if we had taken Holloway by decision, because we were going to take the decision either way, we would have been way more pissed off. Just in hindsight as well. I just want to put that out there. Like, I thought about that. I was like, thank God I didn't bet that because I'd be fucking heated.
No, you're so right, bro. You're so right. But yeah, I mean, we got to get to the finish here. So Holloway, I mean, this is one of the all-time. The KO itself, but like the KO is set up by the circumstance. Because yeah, the little clip looks cool, but the circumstance, the context of it, where Holloway could have easily cruised the victory.
Yeah.
You could argue should have.
Well, he's up 3-1 on 2 judges' cards and was winning that round, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah. He was cruising. And then after, like, 10 seconds left, he does his classic Holloway points down at the mat, which is so cool. Like it's not like wise to do. Like 0 out of 10 coaches would recommend that, but he did it anyway to be a BMF. Like literally, like I mean, that's not like it sounds like something out of the movie. Like, oh, real fighters don't care about that kind of stuff, dude. That's so sick.
Yeah, no, it's so sick. Like he did it against Ricardo Lamas, and I believe started tagging Lamas up. I can't remember if he finished him that same way or not, but
he did it. But he tagged him up and went out like a G.
Yeah, and then Poirier, he didn't do it in the fight, but before the 5th round, Poirier gets up and starts pointing at the mat. Holloway literally pushes his coaches to the side and is like, no, that's mine. Like, let's get it. He just doesn't back down from anyone, and he's always down to initiate that, even when it means that he has everything to lose and nothing to gain. He's just a straight gladiator, which is why it's like, yeah, he said it coming into the BMF fight. Like, I don't care about the weight. Like, I'm just trying to be the best fighter, the baddest motherfucker.
Yeah, man, and man, he knocked Gaethje out cold. I mean,
cold on his face, arms at his side, like cartoon, like comic book, like anime level. And if you've seen the still shots, the punch hit him so hard that the blood out of his mouth comes all the way up to his eyebrow, like here, and it looks like a smile on Gaethje's face before he hits. There's some sick still frames from it. If you haven't seen it, just Google Holloway Gaethje KO on Google, Twitter, X. You'll find it. I promise you'll find it. I think the UFC even posted it on Instagram.
Yeah, no, that clip is everywhere. You've been under a rock if you haven't seen it. But yeah, man. So Holloway catches at plus 130, gets the BMF title, and like it felt good. It felt good because I mean Holloway was fucking always the bridesmaid, never the bride for like the past like 5 years with Volkanovski in the division, and you know his 3 fights with Volk. That seeing him like have his moment, like seeing Holloway like be the man of the hour. It felt good to watch, man. Nobody more deserving, right?
Oh, absolutely not. And then speaking of, the what's next here, Gaethje is fucked. He needs to take a long time off because that KO is brutal. And he was honestly next in line, in my opinion, for lightweight. So he completely fucked himself here. So we'll put that to the side for now because I think Gaethje's next 6 months is just recovery, bro. That's a bad knockout. Like, that's a flush right hand.
You could argue, or I will argue, that we may never see Gaethje again. Like, he's been like talking about retirement, flirting with retirement, and he straight up said like if he's not fighting for belts, he's kind of like over it. Like, I don't think he's down to do another Fiziev level fight. We may never see him again, to be honest. And then, Holloway, we could have some fun with this little segment, the Holloway matchmaking. I mean, there's basically no bad idea. You have 2 divisions to pull from. You have his belt to defend. Like, in my opinion, like you can almost do like fantasy football with matchmaking Max Holloway.
I think what you have to do here is pretty straightforward, and it's.
I disagree.
Well, it's only because it's what he called for. I mean, he wants Ilya. He wants to fight him in Spain, and and we haven't seen that fight. And if you looked at like when Ilya sees him knock him out, it looks like he sees a ghost. It looks like he doesn't want to fight Holloway. So I'm just saying, Like, if
I
I'm the
agree.
UFC and I got Blessed Max Holloway who could start the Blessed Express back up, and like that redemption story, that arc about waiting Volk's time out and coming back to being the champion against a guy like Ilya, who they have a lot. And also for Ilya, if you win that fight, it just adds to your legacy. So it's like
Yeah.
a best of both worlds. Whereas Islam, he calls out Islam, but dude, Islam needs to fight a 55er. He can't just keep fighting 45ers that come up. I think that's the problem is you don't help Islam if Max comes up to fight him. But if Max fights Ilya, you help both guys no matter what.
Well, so Islam's booked against Dustin, so I don't want to say that ship has sailed, but I also think you're leaving out a third option here, which is where it gets fun and maybe a little kooky or whatever. I mean, obviously the BMF has a lineage now.
Oh no,
His own
both.
belt he can defend. Am I frozen out?
No. I was going to say that, in my opinion, what's even cooler about you bringing up the BMF belt is he should always have to put that on the line. So if Ilya wins, he gets both, and now it travels with the featherweight champ, and then the featherweight champ can challenge the lightweight champ. Blah blah blah. Like that'll be how it works.
Yeah, I honestly kind of like having it be its own third separate. But like, hear me out. This isn't my idea. I stole this from Chill, and I'm not saying this is what's gonna happen, but like, I think as a fan it would be sick. What about like Holloway Oliveira for the BMF 155?
Nah, just because like he beat Gaethje so dominantly that for me it's like I know Oliveira is a totally different test, but like why wouldn't I just do Sarukian in that case?
Sarukian don't want it. Sarukian's like he already said he ain't fighting nobody but Islam. So like,
All right, well, and nor should he. But like for Max, like he shouldn't fight anyone but Islam. I mean, who was next for Islam if it wasn't Dustin Poirier? Probably the guy that knocked out Poirier, right? Like he beat
well,
the
and
number
hear me out.
155 contender, and he was the number 145 contender. So for me, it's like Max should just get to pick which champion he wants. If I'm being fair to Max.
You know who else finished Gaethje? Charles Oliveira. And like, I don't know if the BMF comes with pay-per-view points, but I'm just saying financially, business-wise, if Max defends his BMF against Charles Oliveira on a pay-per-view, I'm pretty sure it would main event, and I'm pretty sure he'd get pay-per-view points. So it's like if he challenges the Poirier, he's not getting pay-per-view points.
No. Yeah. I wonder if would you give Topuria an immediate rematch at 45? Probably not, because you'd have. Here's what I think: is Movsar and Diego Lopez are going to fight on the same exact card as Topuria and Holloway, and you have your number one contenders match take place at the same time as the belt.
The thing is, like, I'm not even necessarily arguing against your idea. I just think that this is literally a can't miss. I think whatever happens next is going to be like a bricked up moment for us MMA fans.
Oh man, can you imagine? Like Diego Lopez fighting in Spain. He speaks Spanish. He doesn't speak Portuguese. I noticed that. I was like, because I was expecting Portuguese, and I started listening. And I was like, oh, that's Spanish, because he trains in Mexico. So like,
yeah,
he's gonna already speak the exact native tongue of the Spanish people. So like, the press conference is gonna go wild. He gets to avenge the loss to Evloev, where like he almost ripped his knee into pieces. That's going to be a highly sellable fight, and both guys are who you'd like to probably see next for featherweight, right? I mean, in my opinion, that's who I like to see. And then it's like, why are we in Spain? Because Ilya's defending against Max Holloway, who, man, I'm just saying, if you told me, like, what would I rather buy? And I would, of course, 100% buy both. But if you ask me which one I'd rather buy, it's Topuria and Holloway instead of Holloway and Oliveira.
I don't think you're wrong. Little freeze up. All right, I'm back. But yeah, like I said, I think you just can't go wrong. I think you're shooting fish in the barrel. Speaking of Charles Oliveira, we got a Charles Oliveira fight to break down. Let's get to it.
Let's absolutely get to it. I do have one last question to ask you before we keep it pushing. On that same card, would you have Aljo fight someone like Yair or Brian Ortega and make it like whoever performs better between these two fights is going to get the next chance up?
You know, like, and we'll get to it. I wouldn't mind seeing Sterling Volk.
I agree. I
Former
thought about
champ
that
on former
too.
champ.
I thought about that too. Like, why not? Imagine they all fight in Spain, all 6 of those featherweights, and you have the featherweight Grand Prix like set right there, and the best performer gets to fight the champion.
Yeah, I want to be mad at it. That'd be a very heavyweight, very heavyweight, heavy card. I could see him maybe doing like an arena fight night with Volk Sterling. Like that would sell out at an arena for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, like you said, let's keep it pushing to Charles Oliveira. You and I have different scorecards in this, but they're not going to be all together. Like I think the breakdowns are going to be very similar.
Yes, because I do end up with kind of a unique scorecard, but that being said, I think round 1 was a coin flip. So it's not like I'm like dying on some hill over here. Charles Oliveira plus 185, ranked number 1. Arman Sarukian minus 225, ranked number 4. Lightweight, really number 1 contenders match. I mean, I'll be real. This fight was like kind of boring, but it was very important.
And highly technical too. Like Oliveira kept throwing the most technique at Sarukian that he's ever had to deal with, which was super important for us to be able to see. And then beyond that, we also got to see Sarukian kind of be limited in his ability to do damage other than elbows on top. His elbows from top were nice. Like his ground and pound was devastating.
Always been good. I remember like the start of the Beefy Boys era, one of the first Arman Sarukian fights we ever broke down. Like his ground and pound elbows are what like made us fall in love with him. You know what I mean? He's always had that skill set.
Yeah, 1,000%. And like we've always thought that Sarukian would be a guy that was gonna, would be a guy. You know, I don't know a better way to say that, but he had the loss to Gamrot, I believe, correct? That kind of set him back.
Yeah, but it was like a razor close.
It was a great fight. Also, just a style that's going to be a little more tough for him to deal with. It's a lot more just wrestling and negating striking, whereas like it doesn't allow you to succeed. It allows you to defend and find success from your defense, which is always weird for fighters. Gamrot's a hard puzzle to solve for a lot of guys. He's going to be a great guy to hold the top 5. Like I think Gamrot's the perfect gatekeeper of 5 and up or 5 and out, if that makes sense. Anyway, that being said, with Oliveira here, 1 versus 4, dude, the guillotine he catches Arman in the first round. I have no idea how Sarukian didn't go to sleep. I have no idea. I mean, because Oliveira is a sub specialist, a machine.
Yeah, we're not talking about a Dustin Poirier Gilly here. But, like, yeah, no, it was so tight. But, like, every guillotine attempt ever, like, when it didn't work, I was like, all for naught. It was all for naught.
I agree with you, except that Oliveira does, I believe round 1's where he ends up getting the sweep, correct? And then has top position as well for a little while.
Sarukian gets...
Sarukian sweeps out of full mount.
Sarukian ends up reversing the position and dropping those signature Sarukian elbows. Oliveira landed 10 elbows too. Like I said, I thought round 1 was a coin flip. I'm not mad if he scored to Oliveira. I'm not dying on that hill.
Yeah, see,
I just thought
I did because I thought damage was close. I thought control was close, but I did think that one guy threw up a super close submission as well, whereas Sarukian. So, like, in that instance, for that 45 seconds, one guy is about to win the fight, and one guy is surviving losing.
Yeah, and we broke this down a little bit on, like, last week's breakdown, but it's like submissions that don't damage a point or a joint. Submissions that don't damage a joint, it's almost like a pass or fail test, and we talked about that a little bit.
100%.
And to me, it was a fail, and then Arman gets on top, starts dropping elbows. It's, like, hard for me to reward that Gilly, because the Gilly put you in a bad position. But like I said, I mean, I literally like I'm not using it as a cop out coin flip round. My coin landed on Sarukian.
Totally fine. I'm fine with that. Now, as far as I see it, I guess maybe like 53-47. Like I might flip that way to Oliveira. But that being said, like I totally understand the Sarukian coin flip as well there. Now round 2, I thought Sarukian's best round of the fight, most clear round of the fight. Lands heavy elbows from top and cuts Oliveira's head open. And honestly, probably his best, definitely best round.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add to that. I mean, it sounds like you were like reading my notes basically. But yeah, no, I mean, couldn't agree more. Armand, and then that's where you started to be like because I'm not convinced that Oliveira couldn't have outstruck him on the feet. Like I
I
think
know. I
Oliveira,
wondered
his
about
best,
that.
and I feel like that's why I said this fight was kind of boring because like I kind of wanted to see that tested. I think that if it's like if the stand up, I kind of like Charles Oliveira. He had the reach advantage, but then whenever it was grappling and it was Sarukian on top, I was like, all right, this is what it looks like if Sarukian wins, and this is what it's looking like. Sarukian's probably going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And like that being said, I had it 1919. I would say probably a good amount of people did. Let me see the official scorecards here. You had it obviously 2018. Um, so every judge actually had it 19-19 going into round 3. I can see a case for Oliveira in round 3, but like I said earlier with the 53-47, I would do like 60-40 Sarukian being the 60, if that makes sense. Like, not really a coin flip, more of a like, yeah, it's a good competitive round, but that's a Sarukian round.
Well, yeah, no, I feel you. It all comes down to how you view that Darce attempt. Like, if you view that Darce attempt as like Sarukian got saved by the bell,
I mean, yes and no. I don't know how tight it was. The Darces are so hard to tell.
it's like one of those things where, like, because it was Charles Oliveira's Darce, I'm going to go ahead and say it was tight. You know what I'm saying? I
But
feel like if
Sarukian
anybody's.
popped up and gave a thumbs up in it too. Like, I don't know.
So I scored it for Sarukian. I guess I'm kind of being devil's advocate here.
No,
Like,
I totally get it. I'm just saying from like a damage and control standpoint, like if Oliveira doesn't catch a Darce and is sticking his tongue. By the way, he had it for 20 seconds and didn't put him out, so it couldn't have been ultra tight.
and then, like, regardless, Darce choke aside, Sarukian spent like 4 minutes on top that
That
round off the
right,
takedown that he created,
right.
dropping heavy ground and pound elbows. Like, yeah, no, I scored it for Sarukian too. Like, if you wanted to be a real, Doe Bronx mark, I could see how you arrived, but I don't take that route.
And clearly, Mike Bell is a Du Bronx mark. He scores it for Oliveira. No, that like and Adelaide Bird scores it for Sarukian. That doesn't make me feel good about my own scorecard because she agrees. But that being said, like I do think Sarukian won the fight. I think if you look at damage, control, everything in like a grand spectrum, and the fact that Oliveira locked in they counted 4 lock submission attempts in the fight, didn't submit him. So like, I don't know. Overarching like our takeaway from the fight is that Sarukian won the fight, and it's not really like wasn't that close if you think about he didn't get subbed in 15 minutes. So anything that Oliveira was throwing up dangerously, kind of worth nothing.
Well, and like the only thing that kind of sucks about this that makes it feel a little anticlimactic, like I don't think that Armand beats Islam, like because Islam's so much taller, bigger that like and Islam's not about to be like jumping Gilly and throwing up triangles and shit. So it's like Charles Oliveira's style made Sarukian like look really good. I think against Islam, I think he matches up badly with Islam.
I
Like I
agree.
think Islam, like
I
I'm going to
think
be hammering Islam in that fight, and I think we'll get decent odds. I think the odds for this will be about as good of Islam odds as we really get.
I think Gamrot provides a very similar like mold to how Islam will fight you, except he's not as dominant at grappling as Islam. He's more
Islam from Wish.
well, but Gamrot also is like less successful with his takedown attempts, but he's more active. His activity wrestling is higher, but it's because he's less successful, if that makes sense.
Also, Islam, way better striker than Gamrot.
I
And
know.
don't forget, he head kick KO Volk. Guess who's basically the same height as Volk? Armand's only 5'7". I didn't realize how short he was.
I know. I think it's a bad matchup for Sarukian. Like, in all honesty, Poirier probably loses to Islam, and then Sarukian probably loses to Islam. I hate to say it, but the matchups are just not good at 55 for anyone that's fighting Islam.
And then for Charles Oliveira, I mean, I think I don't know what's crazy. Charles Oliveira, gonna end like I don't see how you don't do Oliveira Moicano. Like I don't see what else you do.
I,
I, I don't see what else you do. I don't think you do. I mean, you could do Oliveira Gamrot if you wanted to put everybody to sleep. I guess Oliveira hasn't fought Fiziev yet. Oliveira Fiziev could be cool.
Hear me out. Hear me out. I could be wrong about this, but with Oliveira being a guy that doesn't fight super often, I mean, he can take 6-8 months off. Like, it's not a big deal, right? What about him getting the winner of Conor Chandler?
I think that's what he wants.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
That's what he wants.
So I'm saying if he's trying to wait, well, he's the number 2 ranked guy. He's going to be the one that doesn't sign contracts. Like, he's the one that'll wait for that fight. I don't know. I think that's if I'm Charles Oliveira, I'll sit out and wait for it. Fuck it.
I can see that. I can see that. Another idea I've seen floated is the winner of McGregor Chandler fighting next for the BMF. I've seen that idea kind of floated, and that kind of makes a lot of sense.
Oh, I like that so much. Holloway McGregor again. Oh my god.
Or Chandler Holloway.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, I think Chandler wins the fight. So.
Yeah, I can see any of those scenarios playing out. I think that's honestly the bracket right there. Like Oliveira, whether it's the winner or loser, you're right. I think either Chandler or McGregor's next because maybe the winner fights Max for BMF. And even if it's a loser, say Chandler beats McGregor, you could probably do McGregor Oliveira headline in a pay-per-view, almost like you did.
You know what?
Colby. Like just one of those random headliners where once a year we get a non-title fight headliner. If anybody's going to do it, it's Oliveira and McGregor.
You know what? Let me paint a very real picture here that I think I actually just worked out real time. So, Poirier's next for Islam, right? And then McGregor's going to fight Chandler. Let's just say that McGregor wins that fight. Well, for the UFC, they have 2 options. He can fight Max for the BMF, or he can jump Sarukian, but that's going to be like a big like hullabaloo from fucking Arman Sarukian. So that's one thing. But I think selling the BMF fight is easy. Holloway McGregor is easy. And it doesn't necessarily impact the belt run that you want to put McGregor on. And you can let Sarukian get his shot against Islam and build Islam up in story still. And then somehow, if McGregor wins that fight, even if he doesn't, he can still fight for the belt next. So I feel like the BMF belt for McGregor is perfect for being the next thing, no matter what.
I agree. I think that's almost what it has to be because I don't think you can like convince UFC fans that McGregor in his current state is like actual best in the world caliber.
Right.
So especially if Islam beats Dustin easily, who knocked out McGregor. Like, I just don't think you can – but I think you can sell fans on the BMF Max fight all day, every day. I think that's, like, the easy sell. So, I agree with you. Let's get to this Bo Nickal fight real quick, man. This absolute lamb to the slaughter. We got Bo Nickal jerking the curtain on the pay-per-view. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I wasn't a fan of that card placement, but it is what it is. It's obvious what they're trying to do, and, like, I get it. I'm just saying that's not – how I would have constructed the card. 5-0 coming into this one. Minus 1450. Taking on Cody Gumbridge.
Gumbridge.
Dude, I'm so with chill on this. It's Gumbridge for sure. So we took Nickal by KO for plus 125. I stand by it. That value was there all day. Like I said, he had a multiple choice, like, because he would take Gumbridge down at will. So he basically like had like choose your own adventure. Do I want to ground and pound? Do I want to go for the sub? He chose the sub route. I mean, it's what it could have, should have all day. But I think that if Bo Nickal just decided to do this a couple of times, our ticket cashes. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it. I tripled my money, but I still don't hate the value on that prop.
No, don't hate the bet at all. It's one of those bets I look back at and I'm like, yeah, it was kind of like Bo Nickal's decision to do whatever the hell he wanted. And in fact, I thought when the first submission attempt didn't work, he would just decide, like, fuck it, I'm just going to ground and pound him out of here. And
I thought so too.
All right. And then the second one worked. But had the second one not worked, I think he would have just gone to, like, all right, I'm just going to beat the shit out of this guy till the ref stops it. But at no point was this fight ever in any sort of question. The fight lasts 8 minutes and 38 seconds, and Bo Nickel has 7 minutes and 25 seconds of control time, so 1 minute and 13 seconds is spent in neutral. I mean,
That's a crazy stat.
yeah, the fight wasn't close. Cody Gumbridge talked a whole Gumbridge, whatever you want to call him. Cody Gumbridge talked a whole bunch of shit about like he hasn't fought a guy like me. Everyone he honestly came with the same shit Jamahal Hill came with, which is like discrediting their prior martial arts background and saying that we're mixing them here. So like their mastery of one doesn't count. And it's like I don't know if you guys understand this, but being the highest level of any one martial art is going to put you over in mixing the rest of them any sort of way. I don't care which martial art it is that you're the best in the world at. If you're at that level, it's gonna help you.
Exactly. It's like if you have like world class ingredients to make a dish with, as opposed to trying to make the dish, with clearance discount bargain meat. You know what I mean? It's like you're starting with like a higher caliber of just like base starting point.
Yeah, it's like a choice steak versus like a Wagyu steak. It's like clearly one is better just based on what it is. Like now you might be able to cook that choice steak really fucking well, but even if you cook the Wagyu bad, it's still going to be good.
Yeah, that's the perfect analogy for sure. And I think that's what we saw here. Honestly, I think we saw poorly cooked Wagyu. Like Bo's obviously really good.
Honestly, good analogy. Odd analogy, but good. Very fitting.
Because like you can't say Bo performed badly, but I also don't think you came away from this one like mind blown. Like I don't know. It was what it was. This fight really should have never been booked, in my opinion. And I hate how I hated Bo Nickel's post fight speech where he's like, "I'm 6-0. By the time I'm 12-0, I'll fight the top guys." So does that mean we get 8 more Gumbridge fights? Like, I'm over it. I'm over the Gumbridges of the world. Like why are we doing this?
Well, but what's odd is he called for Anthony Hernandez, who's number 12. So it's almost like if you're calling for
that works.
No, I agree. He
would have leaned into that. I wish he would have leaned into that instead of being like, 6 fights from now, I'll be fighting these top guys.
And I would say for Bo Nickel, like the obvious path is Anthony Hernandez or Kyle Borralho. Like those are guys that obviously play into your style, like are ranked. And for me, it's like if Nickel wins that fight, one more fight, he's on the precipice of a title. Like depending on how impressive his next 2 wins are, he could get a title shot, or it could be 3 wins and a title shot. But I think in 4 fights, if he continues to win, no matter what, the 4th fight in the next 4 is a title shot. Could be the 3rd fight.
Agreed, but only if he stops fighting the Gumbridges.
He called for 12. Like he's essentially telling the UFC, like, all right, top 15. All right, like, come on, top 15. And in my opinion, he's a guy with so much hype and so much sell that when he says, give it to me, they give it to him. And he even said that to his own credit, where he was like, if you're lucky enough to get the call to fight me, just sign the contract.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty gangster. I just hate how he hedged his bet. He said all these cool things.
He said a bunch of cool shit.
He also was like, give me 6 fights. Like, why ruin it? Why spoil it? Like, why?
It's almost like Chael would say, like, lean into your character. Like, you're selling your character. And if you are that good, it doesn't matter if your character's bullshit or not. Like, you're that good.
Yeah, I mean, Chael's been calling for, like, the Hamzat fight for a minute now. Like, and Chael also has this theory where it's like, you don't necessarily get better over time in this sport. Like basically, like, he thinks that, like, you only have so many bullets to fire. And I'm not saying, like, Bo's kind of an exception to that rule because he hasn't been taking damage the past 10 years. You know what I mean? So I kind of see Chael's point. Like, I think he's either going to be good enough or going to not be good enough. I don't think he needs 4 more Gumbridges to kind of figure it out. I personally don't believe that.
For me, in a perfect world, we're talking about he fights Anthony Hernandez, then he fights someone like Brendan Allen or Costa or Vittori, and then he fights potentially, just depending on how it's all structured, like a Whitaker, a Sean Strickland, maybe even a Hamzat at that point, and then the champion, or that could be the champion, the person I just named, because I don't know how the division plays out.
Totally. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I wish Bo agreed with you. Bo doesn't agree with you. Bo, you
You're
think
right.
he can get there in 3 fights? Bo says he needs 6. Like, that's where my whole
Yeah.
problem is.
I agree with you. He sold himself short because, like, as a guy that watches a shit ton of fights and, like, assessing on a skill level and, like, how he affects the fight based on his approach, yeah, he's 3 fights away. He's 4 fights away at most.
Agreed. No, for sure, man. For sure. Yeah, agreed, man. Bo did what he was supposed to do. Gumbridge did what he was supposed to do. And, but that wraps up the main card breakdown, dude. I mean, so epic. Like, this will stand out in all of our memories really forever. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think we each came away with, like, 2 new favorite fights, or at least favorite highlights of all time. The Peloton knockout and, like, meme, emote, and then the Holloway, like, that moment. I mean, those are 2, like, those moments will for sure be in the Hall of Fame, for sure, for sure.
Oh, 100%. One of the best main cards, one of the best cards of all time. I mean, we'll get into it later in the prelims and early prelims, but, like, Diego Lopez put on a show. Yuri is
Woo,
the most
that guy's
unpredictable.
the shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the fan base for Diego Lopez should be absolutely through the roof. Like, casuals should know who this man is.
No, for sure, man. Yeah, you got Money Moicano on the early prelims.
Yes,
Kayla
sir.
Harrison,
Yes,
Sterling.
sir. Dude,
I can't wait to
the
get to
prelims
it.
were crazy. The 4-fight prelims were crazy. I mean, the earlies were crazy too, but, like, yeah.
Like I said, I think that's what made UFC 300 special. I think if you only watched the main card, like, yeah, you saw the big viral
Oh, you got
moments,
shorted.
but, like, yeah, for sure, bro. For sure, man. But, yeah, this was a lot of fun, brother. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Twitter at Beefy Breakdown. It's the best way to engage with us. And then we also have an Instagram at Beefy Boys Breakdown. And I appreciate y'all watching and supporting the channel. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, sir. We will see you guys in 2 weeks, but probably 10 days for our betting breakdown. Make sure you tune in. We'll see you guys soon.